George Martin, who is sometimes referred to as the fifth Beatle, is an extremely successful producer, arranger, and musician who has worked with many great artists, primarily the Beatles. George Martin was born in London in 1926, where he began taking piano lessons at a young age, but he was mostly self-taught. When Martin was just 17 years old, he joined the Royal Navy, and after his service, he continued his passion for music by attending Guildhall School of Music and Drama, where he studied piano, oboe, orchestration, arranging, and composition. After school, in 1950, George Martin began working at Parlophone record labels, which was a part of EMI Records. It wasn't long until Oscar Prius, the head of EMI's Parlophone Records, would retire and place George Martin in charge of the place. While working for Parlophone Records, George Martin worked with some artists such as Michael Flanders and John Dankworth, most of which weren't as significant as the ones that were working with EMI's larger record labels such as Columbia Records. However, Martin's main focus was with comedy records and novelty records, and he got his first hit in 1952 with Peter Usanov's Mock Mozart. What really sparked George Martin's career was when he met Brian Epstein, who was the band manager of an unknown group called the Beatles. After a couple auditions, George Martin decided to sign the Beatles, but he made one major adjustment. He didn't think that their current drummer, Pete Best, was good enough, so they replaced him with studio drummer Ringo Starr. George Martin had a significant amount of impact towards the success of the Beatles. His biggest contributions to their songs were his phenomenal arrangements and compositions, as well as the production quality that he put into their songs. There are many Beatles songs that you can hear the amazing composition and arrangements of producer George Martin. The most distinct one would be the song Eleanor Rigby, where none of the Beatles members played a single instrument. All the instrumentation was done by the string players of the arrangement that George Martin created.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been. Lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door.
Another song where you can hear Martin's arrangement is in the song Yesterday. Originally, Paul did not want any strings in his song, but George Martin decided to go through with it anyways. Along with his production techniques, it was Martin's arrangements that took the raw sound of the Beatles and transformed them into the popular songs that everybody enjoyed to listen to. In the studio, Martin would experiment with all his equipment and instruments, something that other producers at the time weren't doing. He literally turned his studio and equipment into instruments. One technique that Martin experimented with was taking instrument tracks or vocal tracks that were recorded down to tape and play them at different speeds. Another one of his famous techniques was to take the tracks that he recorded and to play them backwards in the song. This can be heard in the song Rain, where he took John Lennon's vocals and at the end of the song he plays them backwards. When it came to the production of the songs, George Martin always had some clever idea to enhance the music. His techniques, ideas, and passion towards his work are what makes him such a great producer, arranger, and musician. In 1965, Martin would leave EMI and start his own production company called Associated Independent Recording. Besides the Beatles, Martin would work with many other great artists such as Dire Straits, Elton John, America, Jeff Beck, and many others. George Martin is one of the greatest producers in the music industry, and his musical creations will live on forever.